My name is Gabe Albornoz, and I am president of the Montgomery County Council and chair of our Health and Human Services Committee. Montgomery County is a population of 1.2 million people, and if Montgomery County were a state, we would be larger than 4 states just based on our population. And we are the economic engine of the state of Maryland in so many different ways. And our operating budget this year will be over $6 billion, which is a record. And that revenue comes from the taxes that we pay for, that come out of our paychecks, that come from what we pay into taxes for our homes or our rent. And it's that money that pays for the services that are so important to all of us. It pays for our public school system, which is over half of our $6 million budget, which is important. It also pays for our libraries, our parks, our recreation centers, our police department, all of the government services that our community relies on, including trash pickup and collection, comes out of that $6 billion budget. And so it's important for us to hear from the community what their priorities are, what they would like to see in the budget if there isn't something there already, or if there's something that's in the budget that they feel very strongly about, that it remain in the budget or possibly enhanced in some way. This will be the 3rd year in a row that you don't have to show up in person to testify. You can do so virtually. Which is a great option for people who just don't have the ability to be able to travel to Rockville. So you can do it from your phone. You just have to register to testify. We provide translation services in all languages. And so if somebody speaks Amharic as their primary language and would feel more comfortable providing testimony in Amharic, we can provide translation for that person. We just need to know in advance that they need that translation service. We do it in Spanish and we do it in other languages as well. We are trying to work through community-based organizations, but also our media partners and our multi-ethnic media partners to get the word out. Because although we have a great deal of tools at our disposal for communication, we know that we still don't reach everyone. And we also know that sometimes just delivering the message isn't enough. It's the person who delivers the message that's just as important. It has to be somebody who's a trusted individual in people's respective communities. And it's also important that we don't speak down to people, that we truly speak to them in a way that's authentic and that's respectful, and that understands where people are. And so I think that is so important. And what we're doing on this show and on this interview is also important. And this will be my 16th year in county government. I was the director of the recreation department for 12 years before becoming a council member. There is always testimony that is new, that somebody had not heard of before, or that verifies what we've heard from others. So if, for example, your child's school has a poor HVAC system, or you are having an issue getting your child to school because the bus service is not what it should be, or if you have a street where you are concerned about crime, which has been elevated and you no longer feel safe in your own community, or if you have a sidewalk that needs to be repaired or a sidewalk that needs to be put in. Those are all issues that we appreciate hearing from residents. And while we have many residents testify, the practical reality is we don't hear from many more people than we do hear from. And so those that we do hear from have even more influence. And it's very helpful and very important. And I know that for myself, as the son of immigrants, it always warms my heart to see people testify who are not normally used to testifying,
Exactly.
and in their country of origin may not be allowed to. So we absolutely are here to serve the public, and we take that very seriously in Montgomery County. One of the things that frustrates me a little bit as a council member is we have really dedicated leaders in our community who are outstanding, but we often hear from many of the same people who provide tremendous feedback and input. But I'd like for us to hear from more people. I'll give you a specific example. So, about 5 years ago, the county was considering combining the Wheaton Recreation Center with the Wheaton Library to add a beautiful new facility on Georgia Avenue and tear down the old buildings, which were not serving the public very well. Well, we had these great plans, and then a group of community advocates came forward and said, we do not want you to tear down the community center because Led Zeppelin played there in 1964. And we said, what? Are you crazy? We want to build this magnificent facility, but you're telling us we can't do it because it has some historical value, which I respect, but the needs of the community were much greater than keeping a building that was not meeting the needs of the community. And the people that were advocating for that, many of them didn't even live in the community. They had just been to that center when they were young, and they had a nostalgic reason for keeping it there. The community was able to come forward and say, no, 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 we don't want to keep the old community center. We don't care if Michael Jackson played at the old community center. We want a new community center. And that was what ultimately ended up winning the day. The county has 81 boards and commissions, commissions that range on focusing on issues for our aging community, to issues with children, youth, and families, to issues around housing, and you name it. I'm actually creating a new commission on sports and sports participation because we don't have enough participation in some of our communities. So I would encourage people to find out about these boards and commissions and consider joining. And applying to be on one of these positions, because these are the advisory bodies that advise the county council and the county executive even before we get to the budget and the budget process. And so those are a great way to get involved. There are also wonderful nonprofit organizations who could use volunteers to help carry out programs and services. And so oftentimes when people do testify, they can speak about the things that they would like to see, but also the experiences that they had by volunteering in the community. So those are all ways that people can engage. And we need people to, if they're eligible to vote. And even if they can't vote yet, because they have not become a naturalized citizen, you can still plug into the political process and be engaged, because that's important. Thank you. Well, I would say support your local media, especially our immigrant local media, who does such an outstanding job informing our public. There is so much misinformation out there that people get through social media and Facebook. To have credible media sources like yourself are really important. And so we need to support you and your efforts to be able to get the word out to the community.